Well, firstly, dictionaries. Before I go to the bilingual dictionaries, generally about dictionaries, what we can say that dictionaries are windows of the world. Typical expression used often is the word and the world, and the word is our way of getting it or assessing the world. So dictionaries come in different forms, and there are different categories. But I think for our purpose, we need to look at the monolingual and bilingual dictionaries and their definitions. Okay, begin with the monolingual dictionaries. Monolingual dictionary uses the same language for their words and their definitions. So the entry word will be in the language. Let's say in the SMEs we have a word entry, and then it will be explained, elaborate terms, exemplified, and so on. Its different senses will be distinguished, so that's it means the scope of the monolingual dictionary, and it's typically aimed at the providing the user and the learner of the language with the lexical resource and elaborations. On the lexical resources of the language concerned, on the other hand, what's bilingual dictionary? Well, a basic purpose of bilingual dictionary is to coordinate with the lexical items of the one language those lexical units of another language, which are equivalent in their lexical meaning. This is definition given by the eminent expert on lexicography. Now, there is a kind of asymmetry in the language in a bilingual dictionary. Uh, you know, uh, Typically, we think of bilingual dictionaries as having two languages, but the two languages are not a part. So I have tried to elaborate with the point, which will be again relevant at the end. And when we take up the alignment between the bilingual dictionaries and NEP, there is an asymmetry in the languages in a bilingual dictionary in terms of status to the L first is the user's mother tongue or home language. These are expressions that are to be found frequently occurring in the NAP, and there is the L2, which is the typically the user's second language, which could be the either the state language if the user is a minority language speaker, like let's say in a SM situation. I can talk about the Rapas or the Burrows as L1st users of the mother tongue, so that is the home language. Whereas for them, L2nd would be either Sims or English, depending on which language they decide to have as their second language. So, if assume is the second language, then English would be the third language for some groups, but for other groups, they would prefer to have English as a second language and the third language. So, as you can see that immediately that there is a kind of complex situation already happening, because in the lineup of the language has still not come, and there are other language that we might want to include the context of their serial language formula. Well, we'll come up briefly as we discuss things on in terms of status. Then the L first is more familiar to the speaker, to the user of the language, whereas the L second is a language that is being learned. So, in terms of users command, the L first is a language where is the native command of the learner, whereas for the L second, the learners, depending on the levels, it could be a beginning learner or an intermediate learner or an advanced learner. So basically, in terms of competence proficiency, there is this difference in the user's mode of the use of the L first and L second. Is also something where there is a difference in the status of the language. So if you look at the in fact there is a column which is redundant in the first table. I will just ignore that and move on to the next user's mode of the L first and L second in terms of direction. That is in terms of communicative function. You see the one segment of the bilingual dictionary is to move from the L first expression L from the L first, that is from concepts or meanings expressed in the L first, to expressions, that is vocabulary, and other that is words and other expressions in L second. So the movement is from L first to L second, and basic communicative function. In speaking and writing, that is, these are productive functions, and language productive skills, that is when a person using, let's say, the for example, Uzbek people who has a as a mother tongue, our home language, wants to express herself in speech or in writing. She would proceed from the, she will find out the word, let's say, what is the uncertain word in English, or blah 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 blah, for example, would be the entry word, and then from the, then in English, of course, the uncle, but again, there will be other elaborations like fathers, younger brother, and etc. And so from the familiar to the unfamiliar, or relatively unfamiliar, that in one segment to the another segment. That is for expressions moving from the expressions in L to their meanings represented in L first. So that is the movement from L second to L first. So listening and reading our receptive functions are relevant here. So examples are in English Uzbek dictionary. Segment the English Uzbek segment of the bilingual dictionary. So as you can see, typically a bilingual dictionary has these two segments, L first and L second, and which is a general towards the speaker or the learner or user, moving from the home language to the second language, and the other segment for the learner. Moving from the second language, the home language, for example, if he or she is reading something, then I cannot understand a word. Okay, what does method mean? Then the dealing with the pictures in Uzbek, or of course, this is just one scenario. There may be, as we know, right now, as I'm involved in dictionary work, or seems that is English, as this dictionary, the Oxford's Compact Dictionary. There we have the meaning specified in English, as well as so it's a double things as a product. So there's asymmetry in the languages of the bilingual dictionary. It's an issue that will come up later in the context of what if we will discuss of the not provisions suggested for multilingual, for embedding multilingualism in our educational achievements. Thank you.